Welcome to the deep dive for this week. Don't forget to visit the website at deepdiveau.net. Check out our socials and Patreon page at the Deep Dive AU. Subscribe via your favourite podcast app or like and subscribe at our YouTube page at the Deep Dive AU.
The Deep Dive podcast mugs are now available for purchase and are currently on sale. Just go to our merchandise page at deepdiveau.net to purchase one. Don't miss out on this opportunity to grab one for yourself or as a thoughtful gift for a fellow podcast enthusiast.
This is the Deep Dive Podcast. And here is your host, Michael Coles.
As a blogger, vlogger, and songwriter who also lives with a disability, chronic illness, and mental health issues, Nell Tyler is passionate about turning her everyday experiences into opportunities for advocacy and awareness, to lift up the voices of others who might slip through the cracks and to entertain along the way. Nell Tyler, welcome to the Deep Dive.
Hi, Michael. Good to be here.
So what inspired you to start your blog focusing on disability, chronic illness, and mental health?
I think at the time that I was starting, I was feeling pretty alone. I was going through a lot of things that the people around me weren't going through, hadn't gone through, and really couldn't understand. And I almost needed a diary. I really needed a way to journal out my feelings. And as my chronic illness was turning into disability, I was going through a lot of things in my little world that I wanted to update people on for one thing, but also I just felt very, very isolated and very alone in my experiences. And I'm a writer at heart. I just get all of my feelings out when I write. So I think that was the thing that really kicked it off. I just had to get those feelings out because the people around me, I really couldn't have those conversations with them.
So how's your personal experience with Lyme disease influenced your advocacy work?
I think just having Lyme disease in Australia, it still opens up conversations where people don't realize that it exists here. It's not recognized by the government. I had a doctor treating me for a number of years, and then he was actually shut down by the Australian government because he treats Lyme disease. And they were saying, you might harm people with your treatment. And he said, well, if I don't, people will die. If I'm not treated for Lyme disease, I could die of Lyme disease. And even just having those conversations is advocacy in itself, to raise awareness and to help people be aware. We have this in our country, and at the heart of it, I have multiple chronic illnesses, and Lyme is absolutely at the heart of it and has probably been the launching off point for a lot of my chronic illnesses and a lot of my disability. And so being open about having Lyme disease, and so much of my blog was about my journey of Lyme disease and Lyme treatment, and how difficult it is to get treatment here, how difficult it is to get diagnosis here, and that I'm still living with Lyme disease every day. My Lyme can't be treated. I'm considered chronic post-treatment Lyme, where I have a maintenance dose of antibiotics every day because I can't get rid of it because our country won't treat it early enough. So just having it and having those conversations is really advocacy in itself.
So in what ways do you use your songwriting to promote awareness about chronic illness?
I write a lot of songs where I talk about being sick of things, being tired, being over it. I have a song called I Don't Want to Do This Anymore, where it talks about I'm tired of this this constant, constantly doing this. I can't keep going. I have a song called I Am Tired, and it just talks about how I try every day and I don't seem to get anywhere. And it's just expressing those feelings that a lot of people feel, a lot of people without chronic illness feel, but they're very powerful and recognizable feelings to people with chronic illness, because chronic illness gives you a different kind of tiredness. It gives you this deep weariness. And so I do try to put that into my songwriting, and it is that cry into the void of I am so tired, I am so fatigued and sick and tired of this, and really trying to express that in a song so that somebody else who has gone through it can hear it and say, that's the sort of thing I would write in my journal, and there it is in a song. And I think that's really powerful.
And I know sort of like, your songwriting is very prevalent and stuff like that with this podcast. And I'd like you to actually play a couple of songs for us. Can you actually sort of play a song for us right now?
I will. Yeah, I definitely will. There's a song, it's a fairly new one. I haven't shared this one publicly anywhere. It's called Don't Have Time to Cry. And it's one where I was in the shower one day and I was feeling very overwhelmed and I wanted to cry. And I said to my partner, I want to cry, but I don't have time. I'm too busy. I have too much going on. I don't have time to cry. So that's this one. It feels sort of upbeat, but it has a bit of a sadness to it. So that's the one I'm going to start with today. I don't have time to cry today, so I'll pencil it in for later. And I've had such a doggone terrible week that I filled up my weekend planner. I can't allay my fears. I guess I'll just delay my tears. I can't allay my fears. I guess I'll just delay my tears. It's not time for the tears to run because there's no stopping them once they've begun. Guess there's nothing left but to keep it cool. If the dam breaks, it'll crash on in, and my strength is already wearing thin. Keeping it together has become my golden rule. 'Cause I don't have the time to cry. I cannot let anybody see my strategy is denial. And if any one of you gets too close, I'll paint on a big old smile. I can't allay my fears. I guess I will delay my tears. I can't allay my fears. I guess I will delay my tears. It's not time for the tears to run because there's no stopping them once they've begun. Guess there's nothing left but to keep it cool. If the dam breaks, it'll crash on in, and my strength is already wearing thin. Keeping it together has become my golden rule. 'Cause I don't have the time to cry. Is there ever a good time to have a breakdown? Why do I feel like my life is giving me the shakedown? Never getting to win, always on the come down. Keeping it together even under pressure. I can't keep doing this forever. Oh, it's not time for the tears to run because there's no stopping them once they've begun. Guess there's nothing left but to keep it cool. When the dam breaks, it'll crash on in, and my strength is already wearing thin. Keeping it together has become my golden rule. 'Cause I don't have the time to cry.
Oh, so that sounds fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank
So, going on to now the questions. What are some of the main themes you explore in your content related to the chronic illness experience?
I think a lot of the misconceptions that people have, I've in my own journey, even when I was in hospital being treated for a chronic illness, somebody said to me, "Oh, I had a friend who had post-viral fatigue and they got over it in 6 months and they're okay now." And I had to sort of tell the difference between there's post-viral fatigue, you get an illness, then you stay tired for a little while and then you're okay. And then there's things like chronic fatigue syndrome. There's pain issues and then there's fibromyalgia where you stay in pain. A lot of it is me kind of giving a bit of education of saying, okay, this is what this illness is and this is what it looks like in life. This is why people with chronic illness can't have jobs sometimes because we can't be reliable. We can't be consistent. We might wake up one day and be able to do a full day of work, but then the next day be in bed all day. I've had support workers who, when I say to them, like, I'm going to sleep in, and they say, oh, I wish I could do that. And I say, it's not a choice. It's not what I want to do. I want to get up and do things. I'm only 35. I shouldn't have to stay in bed. I shouldn't have to just stay on the couch. I don't want to do those things. I'm having to slow down my life because of something out of my control. So I think a lot of it is talking about those misconceptions and helping people understand chronic illness a little more rather than just what they've heard from, well, a friend of a friend had this happen and a friend of a friend had this happen. And I think I'll talk about the science. I'll talk about the actual medical stuff.
So, how do you engage with your audience through your YouTube channel? Can you tell us about that? Because I know there's a lot that you actually engage through your YouTube channel.
Yeah, so I've been on YouTube for 5 years now. I started the YouTube channel 5 years ago because I'd been doing my blog and I thought I want to do it in video form. I think for a lot of people with chronic illness, watching something is a little easier than reading, and it's a little bit easier to digest that. So I thought I'll start this YouTube channel, and talking to people in the comments became a really wonderful way of engaging with people, where we'd have a bit of back and forth, and I found that really fascinating. And then this year we've started doing live streams on a Sunday afternoon at 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time and 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that's been really wonderful. I think the first one I mostly played music the whole time. And the next one we got talking about American politics because someone from the US was in the stream. The next time we were just having a laugh. It's been a really wonderful way of connecting with people. And for me, it's a way of saying, if you want to ask me questions about disability and chronic illness, that's the time to ask. Not when I'm sort of out and about just being a person minding my own business, but this is the time to really ask those hard questions or just have a chat and really engage with my audience a little more, which has been really wonderful. That's been a wonderful thing to do.
So what type of content do you enjoy sharing the most on Instagram and TikTok?
I share a lot of rants, to be honest. Sometimes I'll go through something during the day. When I'm out and about, there's probably a 20 to 30% chance that I will have a negative experience related to my disability. That might be somebody treating me differently because of my disability, or somebody just approaching me out of the blue and saying, "Why are you in the wheelchair?" which I really don't like. So I will often just get out my camera and I will just film me saying, "Hi guys, so this is what happened and this is how I feel about it," or "Hi guys, I just had this experience with the NDIS. I just had this experience with an OT or with the support organization. This is what happened. This is why it's wrong. This is why you don't need to put up with this, and this is what you can do in that situation." So I really like that, and that's what people seem to respond to when they say, "Oh yeah, that happened to me, but I wasn't sure how to handle it. Now I can take that advice." So I find that really good. That just sort of immediate real life stuff, sharing that is really wonderful.
Okay, so can we have another song of yours? Because I know you've
Yeah.
got plenty of songs to play for us today.
Well, yeah, like I just mentioned the NDIS. I do have an NDIS song, and I think it was my second disability-focused song that I wrote. And a couple of years ago, I think 1 or 2 years ago, I started sort of sharing my songs online on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram and TikTok. And I shared the NDIS song on TikTok, and it got something like 50 or 60,000 views. More than anything I've ever made. And people really responded to it. A lot of people saying that's exactly my feelings on it. So that's the one I'm going to do. It's a little cheeky and a little sassy. Somebody asked me what genre of music I write, and I said sassy, angry, disabled. That's my genre.
That sounds good to me. So let's have a listen to it.
All right. What am I pissed about? Oh, can you guess what makes me scream and shout? It's the NDIS. It starts with good intentions, as is often the way. It helps us folks with pensions so that we don't need to pay for the things that we rely on to survive every day. But if you think that it's free, I've got something to say. If I need a new wheelchair, they study how I sit. If I need a new toilet, then they study how I shit. I meet a brand new worker, and they help me to undress. Everyone sees me naked, it's no wonder I'm depressed. What am I pissed about? Oh, can you guess what makes me scream and shout? It's the NDIS. My workers are fantastic. Well, most of them at least. This job isn't for everyone, 'cause care's a tricky beast. They all need to be vetted to make sure they're the right fit. But sometimes that job comes down to me, and I'm not trained or paid for it. Can't make my own decisions, they're taken from my hands. It's a great charade of agency, and no one understands. The NDIS is meant to be all about control and choice. I wish some of that belonged to me, that'd sure be nice. What am I pissed about? Oh, can you guess what makes me scream and shout? It's the NDIS. It's quite a broken system, that's just the honest truth. It was faded in the way it's made, and there's plenty of proof. It's been underfunded, understaffed, and just badly designed. It might not affect your life, but it sure as hell does mine. But don't think I'm not grateful. Don't think I'm not glad. In some ways, this whole lifestyle is the best I've ever had. I just get sick of people saying that this thing is free. Technically, that's true, it just cost me my dignity. What am I pissed about? Oh, can you guess what makes me scream and shout? It's the NDIS. What am I pissed about? Oh, can you guess what makes me scream and shout? It's the NDIS. NDIS, hey!
Ah, that sounds so relatable. Thank you very much for that. So, your advocacy work focuses on amplifying the voices of those who might slip through the cracks, so to speak. What does that mean to you, and how do you strive to achieve that?
Well, I really started doing a lot of advocacy because I wasn't born disabled. I became disabled when I was 22, and my mother was my carer for a while, and then we started getting in-home care. And I noticed that a lot of those systems were designed in a way that assumed I couldn't speak. I said I would like to have cream put on my feet, and they said, well, you need to get a doctor's note. You need to get a doctor's prescription to have Sorboline on your feet. And I said, why? It's just cream. And it was basically the assumption that I wouldn't know what was best for my skin, the assumption that I couldn't make a decision over what was healthy or safe for me. All of the infrastructure was designed in a way that assumed I didn't know what was best for my body. I couldn't make choices. And I had to start fighting for myself. And then I realized there are a lot of people who can't sit down and write an email. They can't sit down and write a well-worded email. They can't make that phone call and say, I don't like the way I'm being treated. I think this is discrimination. I believe that you should treat me better. There are a lot of people who can't do that. And I realized that if I sit back and just fight for me, there are a whole lot of people who still don't have that fight that's that battle that's being fought for them. So that's why I really thought, okay, I need to go through that door and make sure that door stays open for the people behind me, even to the point where I will try to get up on a stage somewhere and say, make sure that stage isn't just for me. Make sure that it's not just me that you're getting up there, but you can leave that access there for everyone who comes after. I don't want you to just get me in there. I want this to be for everyone who comes after.
Okay, so what are some of your biggest challenges you faced in your journey as a disability advocate?
It's funny, I often say that like the disability doesn't hold me back as much as people do. I can get I can do pretty well. I cope with my disability pretty well. In my own home, I have ramps, I have doors, I have everything I need. If I go out, the thing that's stopping me is just getting on a stage or getting through a door. And that's the frustrating thing where I think I could do some advocacy in there, except I can't get through the bloody door. That's the frustrating thing where it's like, that's the roadblock for me. It's physically getting through a door. And so as much as I struggle with, like, I have autism. So as much as I struggle with the anxiety that my autism produces from going into a new place, sometimes I can't even get to that point because the door isn't open to me, or even just people's attitudes. I remember I was struggling to get on a stage. So I went to an event and they didn't have a lift for me to get on the stage. So I was down on the ground. And afterwards, somebody said to me, he patted my wheelchair and he said, oh, don't let that stop you. And I said, I don't know if you were watching, but I didn't let that stop me. It just did. Like, I don't have anything to do with my wheelchair stopping me from getting into places. It's more that when people look at the disability discrimination guidelines or they look at wheelchair accessibility and they decide not to do it, I would love to go into a room and advocate for accessibility, but it has to be accessible first. It's that chicken or the egg
it's
thing.
physical sort of like barriers and stuff like that, which is sort of like they haven't really caught up. So anyway, how do you balance your different roles as a blogger, vlogger, and songwriter?
Oh, sometimes not very well. I I struggle with my chronic illness, so I often get very tired. And I think once I started like doing Instagram and TikTok, you start to get this frustrating mindset where I'll be going out to lunch with my partner, and then I think, wait a minute, I should take a photo of me and this restaurant and the access to the restaurant so that I can post it on social media and tell them what a great accessible restaurant. And then you think, I just want to live my life. But once you start putting yourself out there as an advocate or as a social media person, it is hard to have balance because you almost get the sense that you're living life for other people. You still have to live life for yourself. So I think for me, during last year, I really cut back on my YouTube. I used to upload every 2 weeks. I would do a video every fortnight, and I was just getting burnt out. And so I basically put it as, I'll upload when I want to, when I can, when a video idea strikes me. And then now doing the Sunday streams means I have something on my YouTube channel. Every week there's something there, but there was so much effort that I was putting into that. And this year I'm really focusing on music. And so I realized the way I balance it is sort of going, okay, the energy goes into music right now, and the vlogging goes into a back seat. This week I'm going to focus on it. I'm working on a blog post right now, so other things take a back seat. So I realized instead of keeping all of the plates up in the air at once, I just put some of the plates on the ground and focus on keeping one in the air. And it's that thing of like, you learn that over time. You learn that over the years of doing this sort of work.
Okay. So what kind of impact do you hope your advocacy has on the disability community?
I hope I help people to advocate for themselves. I think that's the biggest thing I would want to see, that people can start realizing, okay, I know what I deserve. I know what I deserve, how I deserve to be treated. I know that that person's saying that to me, or that organization giving me that treatment, I deserve better. And I'd really like to see people having the confidence of, not needing a lot of advocates doing things for them, but just saying, I'm going to speak up for myself. That's the strength and courage that I'm going to get. So that's what I would really love from my music, from my videos, anything that I do. I would love to have the feedback be people saying, I'm going to stand up for myself, figuratively speaking, for those of us who can't stand.
Okay. So we've got another song. So what song are you going to play for us now?
I've got Pretty Disabled, which is a very popular one. This is one that quite a few people have said has really touched them. And I think it was the first disability related song that I ever wrote. And the story of it is essentially, yes, I'm disabled. Yes, I'm mentally ill, and I'm partially deaf. I'm also intelligent, and I'm funny, and I'm all of these things, and none of them takes away from the other things. We're just the sum of our parts, and well, more than the sum of our parts. And yeah, that's that. You can't really separate my disability from me, but at the same time, my disability doesn't lessen any other part of me. So yeah, that's what I'm going to sing.
Okay, let's take it away.
I'm pretty disabled, smart and kind. I'm mentally ill with a marvelous mind. I'm brunette, overweight, funny and wise. My eyesight's no good, and I have beautiful eyes. I'm partially deaf, I hear hearts just right. I make people laugh and I cry in the night. I'm in a wheelchair, I have excellent hair. It's all what you see, and it's all equally me. I'm more than the sum of my various parts. Who needs working legs when you've got a good heart? I sometimes get sad about the things I can't be, but what matters the most is that I'm perfectly me. I'm not always happy, I'm not always right. I'm often afraid that I'm not doing things right. I try to be brave and I try to be free. But above all, I always just strive to be me. You're more than the sum of your various parts. Who cares what they say? You are a work of art. Your mind might feel broken, your heart might feel bruised. But what matters the most is that you're perfectly you. I'm more than the sum of my various parts. Who needs working legs when you've got a good heart? I sometimes get sad about the things I can't be. But what matters the most is that I'm perfectly me. What matters the most is that I'm perfectly me. What matters the most is that I'm perfectly me.
That is fantastic. So, have you collaborated with other advocates or organizations to further your mission? If so, what has that experience been like?
Yeah, actually, at the very beginning of my journey, so one of my first experiences was that my support coordinator, she asked me to do a little talk at a meeting get together that she was doing. They were a bunch of support coordinators were getting together. They were giving each other feedback, and she asked me to give a speech on the ideal support coordinator from the point of view of a person with disability. And so I gave a 20-minute speech there. And there was somebody there from an organization called Disability Maternity Care. And she said to me that she really loved the way I spoke. And she asked if I could start giving presentations through her organization. So I did some webinars and a podcast through her organization. And they were really supportive. You know, it was some of the first paid work that I had as an advocate. And they were just so respectful of, they really wanted the point of view of a person with disability while working with advocacy. And then I ended up working with a local community college. I did a series of podcasts. So they were interviewing people with interesting and individual stories in our community. And they knew of me as a local advocate. And they said, well, how about we interview Nell and then have Nell interview half a dozen other people. So I interviewed people in like the disability and music sphere. There are a couple of people locally who work with like music therapy, and a man who works with children with disability and teaching them music. So that was a really wonderful thing of like, working, also getting paid to be an advocate instead of just doing it on YouTube for free. But being able to talk to people about that advocacy and not just do it on my own, but really work as a community project. That was really powerful and really uplifting to be recognized. We've got our local radio station. They got me onto the radio station to talk about my music. And then later on they called me and they said, hey, Nell, we heard there's some changes to the NDIS. Would you mind having a 5-minute interview to give us your opinion? Hey, Nell, we hear there's some changes to disability access in our local area. Would you mind giving us your 5-minute opinion? So getting known around town as like, that's a disability advocate, and they would really give you a good opinion, a good learned, educated opinion. That's been really wonderful and really encouraging.
Okay, so what are some future projects or goals that you have in your advocacy journey?
The album is next. I'll be working on recording an album this year. I brought out one song on Spotify last year, Wheelchair Babe. If you want to check out Spotify, Wheelchair Babe on Spotify. And it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. And the producer that I worked with on that, we're going to be working on some more. His studio was in a shipping container, and now they're building a wheelchair accessible studio. So I've got to wait a couple of months, but once we're in there, we're going to work really hard and get the album out. And I'll be working on doing more local gigs actual gigs rather than just markets and busking, local gigs, so that I can start building up that recognition. There's a local music festival at the end of the year that I've already been able to book in. So I really want to start getting momentum and hopefully have an album out by that music gig so that I can start selling CDs and really have music that people can take home and listen to. And so the album is the biggest thing that is coming up.
Okay, so how can people best support your advocacy efforts?
I think following me on YouTube is the biggest one. Get involved in the live streams, have a chat, like talk to me, ask me questions. Also, watch the YouTube videos and get involved on TikTok. And I'm on Facebook as well. I have a Facebook page, but yeah, TikTok and YouTube is really where the videos light up. But yeah, on Facebook as well, following all of those places so that if I release music, if I'm doing gigs and you're nearby to me on the mid-north coast, and come and support me in person, or just follow me on social media and so you can see what I'm up to. And just having that written feedback is so good. I have somebody who just said, your music means so much to me and it's really touched me. That is support. Like, that is huge support, knowing that what I'm doing is worthwhile and I should really keep doing it.
Okay. Is there anything you wish more people understood about living with a chronic illness or disability?
I think, like, I kind of touched on it earlier, but that we do a lot better when people's attitudes are different. Like, often I go out and I feel okay. My energy levels might be okay. My anxiety is okay. I know that I'm going to a place with a ramp or whatever. And then it's somebody who says something ableist or says something ignorant or says something discriminatory, and that ruins things. And so it's often that, a lot of people with disability are isolated, or we isolate ourselves. And it's because people haven't made changes to their locations or their venues to keep up with disability discrimination laws, or people are just saying horrible things. And I think I wish more people knew the world could be more disability friendly. It's a lot easier. There are a lot of simple changes that can be made to make the world disability friendly. We went to a little town, and there were a bunch of the stores had little rubber ramps that I know you can get for about $100 at Bunnings. A bunch of the stores had that. And there was one store we wanted to go into and it didn't have it. And I just said to them, $100 and you can get me in this store. And instead I'm sitting outside. Little changes. There are so many little changes that can make the world easier and kinder for people with disabilities. It does not need to be as hard as it is. Changing attitudes and making little changes makes the world so much more open. And I wish people knew that and were aware. Just look around, see where the steps are, and be kinder, really.
Okay. And we've got one last song to sort of finish off the Deep Dive podcast for today. What are you going to play for us?
I'm going to play the Great Divide, which is kind of on that topic. And I wrote it after I participated in my town's local Eisteddfod, a singing Eisteddfod. And I told them in advance, I'm coming, I have a wheelchair. Is there a way to get me on the stage? And they said, yes, we'll hire a wheelchair lift. And they just didn't organize it. And so I was on the floor in front of the stage. I didn't get on that stage. And I won awards and I couldn't get up on the stage, and it just felt like there was such a big difference between me and the rest of the world, but all it was just that one step. And so it inspired me to write this song. Tell me what separates me and you. Is it a doorway, a hallway, or maybe a step or two? You really can't see my point of view, as long as you're on the other side of that great divide. We're really not that different, you and I. Some of the same things make us mad, make us proud, make us cry. But I'll never get where you are, hard as I try, as long as these barriers abide the avoidable divide. I just wanna be where you are, living my life just like anyone else. But the distance between us is still much too far, and a single step can make me feel so helpless. And don't tell me not to let it stop me. Don't give me empty platitudes. Don't say you can do it if you put your mind to it. The great divide doesn't give a damn about my attitude. Tell me, why can't I be on a stage, sharing my songs and my stories, note by note, page by page? I wanna be free, but this world around me is my cage. I can't wait till we all can say goodbye to that great divide. Tear it down, brick by brick, throw it out, oh, I'm sick of it. This journey is long and tiring, but I'll try. I'll fight to get into your stores and cafes. I'm not gonna stop, so get used to this phase. Work with me so that I can be by your side. No more great divide.
And one last question we like to ask everybody here on the Deep Dive podcast. If there's one bit of advice in 30 seconds or less that you would like to give somebody, what would that be?
Oh, learn your worth and make sure other people know it too.
Okay, and Nell Tyler, thank you so much for being part of the Deep Dive podcast today.
Thank you so much, Michael. It's been my pleasure.
You can check out more from Nell Tyler at her website www.nelltyler.com, on Instagram and TikTok at @_Nell_Tyler, or on YouTube at Nell_Tyler_warning honest your head.